I'm very delighted to be here today with Dr. Wooten. He is the administrator with OMB's Office of Federal Procurement Policy. And he's agreed to take some time to prepare for our January edition of Contract Management Magazine, which is focused on professional development. So thank you, Dr. Wooten, for your time. I know you're very busy, but we're delighted to be able to be here today.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm a longtime member of the National Contract Management Association. I've been a member since about April of 1997. To be able to contribute in this way is thrilling for me, so thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being a member, and thank you for remembering when you started. I think that's, I hope everyone recognizes in their career that pivotal moment when they joined NCMA. Well, we're going to jump right into our questions for today, and Dr. Wooten, when looking at your biography, we see certainly a long and successful career that has brought you through many experiences such as military service, contract management, and professional development leadership. So would love to hear a little bit about your journey on that pathway. What were some of the things you may have planned, or maybe an example of something that was just an opportunity you happened to grab?
Well, glad to take that one on. It unfolded over decades, actually, but back in about the early 1990s, I became aware of the Naval Postgraduate School. And some of the generals around the supply community and the other leaders, the colonels and so forth, would refer to graduates of NPS as the 50-pound brains. I wanted to be one of those guys. So it took years, but I finally was successful in applying, and I landed in contract management. What's that? I didn't know. But that was my new career field, but it's been a game changer. I went through the Naval Postgraduate School under the tutelage of Dr. David Lamb, and then was sent out to the Marine Corps to do contract management. In my first assignment, I didn't focus so much on the rule-based stuff as I did on accomplishing the mission, something that I had learned to do as a supply officer in the Marine Corps, focus on the mission. And I would have characterized my first tenure as a contracts professional as being a cowboy. We paid very little attention to the rules, actually. It's not a good thing for the administrator for federal procurement policy to fess up to, but that was the truth. We were focused on customer service. But as you mature, I think those cowboys out there, the ones who survive, those cowboys out there move toward the center and understand that they can still do great customer service, but do it by complying with the law, the rules, the regulations, and follow best practices. And likewise, those who weren't like us, the non-cowboys, or I refer to them as strict constructionists, who follow the rules, who were thinking about compliance first and customer second, from my perspective at least. Those folks, as they mature, they begin to gain some flexibilities to the point where we are today. And my career has evolved since those early cowboy times, where I'm no longer a cowboy, but understand that my responsibility is to orchestrate a change so that the workforce understands customer service, understands that they can do both. They can comply and get good service, so that they can now feel comfortable moving beyond their comfort zones, but still staying within the law. And they understand that's the message that I'm sending. I want change. I want you forward-leaning. I want you to be almost cowboy-like in going beyond your comfort zone, but again, not beyond the bounds of the law.
A wonderful story about how you started your career, and we certainly know Naval Postgraduate School very well. One of our very own on the board, Dr. Renee Rendon, is there, and many others in our
great admiral, great lady, great American.
Great,
yes.
And thank you very much. We appreciate that story, and I love how now that sets you up for your position now at OFPP. So what are some of the experiences there? Is there anything you would highlight about your best experience as administrator?
Well, yes, as administrator, there were a couple of things I had to really figure out. And there were a couple of minor adjustments I needed to make, I think, to be more successful as the administrator and to add value to the community. First, I came to this position with a fairly unusual background for an administrator. I had been an operator in acquisitions for many years. So that was a huge advantage. Because now I'm going to, now as administrator, I would be put in the position of preparing the guardrails so that we have a good acquisition system. But as I prepare those guardrails, I'm now, based on years of experience, I'm mindful that I have to, that people like me have to eat the dog food I put out. And I wanted to make sure that we have a system that works for the operators, not just the contracts professionals, but the whole acquisition community, and more importantly, the people they serve. So the challenge that I think that I've most enjoyed as administrator was learning to be a good policy person. Understanding that I came to the position as an operator, that I had grown from being an operator to now a larger leader in acquisition, a larger contributor as being a policy person. And that was, I think that's gratifying. That's something that when I leave this post, I'll be glad that I had that particular leadership opportunity, because most of the time I was an operator. And I've done operations in different environments, in Afghanistan, base operations support. I've done operations for city and state as Deputy Chief Procurement Officer for the District of Columbia. I've had lots of different operations experiences, and of course, those 10 formative years I had at Defense Acquisition University. Even my doctoral dissertation was dealing with the professional skills required of contract professionals. But specifically, my doctoral dissertation looked at the relationship between the knowledge skills, not knowledge skills and ability, but the education, training, and experience that is framed in the DAWIA framework, the relationship between that and the competencies required of DoD contract managers. So I looked at that, I think that shows too that I didn't just focus on the operations piece, but how to make the operators more effective through professional development. But now, again, as the administrator, I get to cap this off as a policy official, and this has been great.
Wonderful. I like how you're able to draw on your experience as an operator, coming through the ranks, as you will, to be able to now apply policy to our tradecraft. I don't necessarily say we would call it dog food, but I'm certainly delighted that you're thinking about the soldier, you're thinking about the person on the front line, the person who's delivering the last mile, if you will, of our policy, right. That you're thinking about that. Right. You're ensuring that this is going to be good for them and not dog food, but something really nice.